every single time I sit down to look at the week date, I have to double check because I keep thinking I accidentally like double streamed a date, and then it's like, no, I don't want to fix them. I don't want to fix weeks of streams again.
Sneaky. Sneaky. You may need to take like a month's break.
Not again.
Your non-existent work is starting to invade your dreams and hallucinations.
No, that's just pretty normal.
Yeah, that's not helping the case.
I finally had to go pick up groceries because I had my rice and soup mash today, and I was like, pretty good. You know, it'd be better having something else to eat around here.
Yeah.
I say, surrounded by a bevy of options of food. The only problem with half of these options of food is it requires milk to soak in, which I didn't have.
Yeah.
I was like, well, if I'm going out to get milk, I might as well go out to get alcohol. If I'm going out to get alcohol, I might as well pick up some fish. And if I'm picking up some fish, I might as well grab some cookies. And if I'm grabbing some cookies, I might as well get some chips.
Okay, so you went grocery shopping while hungry, which is something that you should never do.
Yes.
I wouldn't really say while hungry, because I'm pretty thoroughly satiated by the rice and mash I had this morning. Like that was a pretty big meal. And I wasn't really hungry when I was there. It was more of an instance of like, I would like to eat this in the future. And if I'm already here buying these things, I may as well buy the other thing.
Well, then you might as well have gotten, some flour, maybe some buttermilk to soak that fish in for a good old-fashioned fry. Maybe some
no, I
breading
just
if you
air
want
fry
a
them.
little crunchier.
Yeah, no, I just air fry those fuckers, and God, is it delicious. I put salt on it, some pepper, air fry the fuck out of it. Oh, it's great. Salmon, delicious. I really just enjoy the basic bitch salmon. What can I say?
I mean, nothing
Hey,
wrong.
salmon is good.
Nothing wrong with that, man. My family recently found out because my mom would sometimes buy salmon. My dad thought she liked salmon. She thought that he liked salmon. Turns out I'm the only one of the family. I'm the only one of the family that likes salmon.
Oh, amazing!
You're the only one with any decent taste in fish, then.
I got 2 whole fillets to myself that I tried cooking like 3 different ways.
Yeah, it's like this is the curse of living alone, right? Like I could buy a big fillet of salmon, and I could cook the shit out of that bitch. I got an entire recipe book for ways to cook that. But it's a lot of effort, and I'm the only one eating it.
I mean, counterpoint, one normal sized salmon fillet should last you like 4 to 6 meals easy.
3 meals. I don't think you understand the levels of protein I consume.
I do know that the levels of protein you consume, you probably should not have as much excess fat. Because we talked about your protein intake before.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I don't know how much of that excess fat is a thin layer. Because, much like me, you're built in a way that I would not want to take a punch from someone with shoulders that fucking broad.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, though, like, you can make that last, like, a day or two. And
it's absolutely gonna last me, like, 2 days.
Well, here's the nice thing about it. Like, okay, I don't want to cook the whole fillet, alright? Chop that bitch in half, throw the other half in the freezer. Cook it up
yeah, no,
in a month.
absolutely, yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna eat it fresh. I'm gonna eat it now because
Also, you
salmon.
just admitted that you just air fry. Like the worst thing about salmon that I learned, because I'd never prepared salmon before,
Yeah.
is that if you buy the fillet normally, you've also got to take the skin off yourself. And boy,
Oh, that's a
The,
pain in the ass.
that's
the
an
fuck
ex
you
that's an
talking
ex
about?
that's an experience. First time trying that.
Fuck you talking about? No, you eat that bitch.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the skin,
Oh,
personally.
that's the most delicious part of the salmon. Oh,
Oh,
that
I'm
fucking
sure it.
fat layer between the salmon.
Sneaky, you're talking to
Oh,
a southerner. It's the same thing with fried chicken. The skin is probably the best tasting part,
yeah,
but there's something about it that I just couldn't do the first time I tried having the skin on a salmon
right. I
fillet.
mean, that's fair. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't like grilled skin. I don't like broiled skin. The
I can
air
do
fried
broiled.
skin.
Grilled has to be seasoned correctly.
Yeah, I mean, just typically they don't put a lot of effort on the skin because you usually assume most people just don't eat it. So
Yeah.
in the restaurants
Well,
I've
and
gone to,
usually yeah. Well, if you're doing it grilled. Most of the recipes I found were like you can do this with or without the skin, and if you do it with the skin on, once you cook it, the skin really will just fall right off anyways.
it falls right off. Oh, it just sloughs
But
right off. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
but the problem is I like both sides of my cut having seasoning on them.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I just really like the skin because the skin holds in all of the salmon fat onto the salmon, and then the underside of the salmon gets basically fried in its own fat. It is so fucking good. And technically, it's really healthy for me because that's all fish oil. So I win.
Is salmon a good source for omega-3? Like most fish oil
Oh
is
yeah,
for me.
that's like the main source of omega-3s.
Okay, then yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great fish to eat. I would. I don't. I don't have an issue with fishy taste. I mean, obviously, I mean, I've eaten. Oh man, I've eaten some. I forget what it is. Poke tuna or something like that. I forget what it was, but it was this like super fatty slice. I think it was tuna.
It had to have been tuna.
It was raw.
Tuna is treated as like the the god of just sashimi.
It is a
Yeah.
godfish. It honestly needs to be respected way more than it is.
I respect tuna for a completely different reason. It allows me to divert any and all cats from my presence.
What, like using it on the cats?
It's just like, oh, it's like a cat might come near me, fucking yeet tuna in the other direction. No more
Oh, okay.
cats.
What we've learned from this sneaky is that Atin at all times is carrying some amount of tuna on his person.
I've also learned from this interaction that under no circumstances is that allowed to be near tuna. Because he will just waste it.
The tuna is delicious. No. Hang on a minute. The tuna is only used as an emergency. It's either an emergency snack or an emergency be gone cat.
You're gonna have to hit me with this 1940s food pyramid here, man, because I'm just seeing the most dog shit of food pyramids here.
Oh, please share with the class.
Oh, it's just like, oh, well, bread. Make sure to eat lots of bread. Bread.
What?
Eat all the bread. Bread.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which, if you want to be
1940s.
fat as fuck, eat lots of bread.
Yeah, do not consume vast quantities of bread.
There's a whole thing about it. The New Testament touches on it.
Yeah, eat your meats.
And
eat your
Jesus said,
fish.
you want to be fat? Eat a lot of bread.
I don't think he said that. Did you? I'm sorry. Did you just Zoomerify that fucking passage?
Yes.
Unintentionally, yes.
A real-time
I was
heresy from
attempting
Atin.
light.
Yeah,
Supposed
live
I was attempting
heresy.
comedic blasphemy, and it
Live
actually
heresy.
accidentally ended up being Zoomer.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah, I'm just seeing a bunch of food wheels, food pyramids, bread, eat your fucking bread. No. Bottom of the food pyramid, the core of your diet should be meat, red meat.
I mean,
Well, not necessarily red meat, but it definitely needs to be.
Oh
if
no,
your
100% red meat.
if your stomach can handle it, sure.
Well, yes.
Most people's stomach don't do too good with that.
That's because most people are fucking pathetic.
My body
And I
is
know
pathetic.
gray isn't. Well, it is gray. I know what I said, and I stand by it.
Exactly.
I mean, you're rude. You're not wrong, but you are rude.
Is it rude if it's the truth?
You know what the
Sneaky-
Dutch
Yes.
eat?
Sneaky out here with the
You know
where's
what
the
the
line
Dutch eat?
mean?
Yeah, you know what the Dutch eat a lot of? Fucking red meat. You know how fucking massive the Dutch are?
Quite.
Yeah. I am the shortest
mean-
guy in my family at 6'1".
I mean, eating healthy really is just as simple as like, all right, what did our ancestors subsist off of? Veggies, fruits.
Meat. A lot
Take
of
whatever
meat.
meat you want. Pick your meat. You want red meat? Go for that. You want chicken? Take as much as you want. You want to substitute fish instead? Go right the fuck ahead. There were entire seafaring
Consume.
civilization societies. Like
Yeah.
we are
another
omnivores.
another
We
great
eat
thing to eat.
everything that doesn't kill us.
Cheese and yogurts, olives, and none of that skimmed shit. Get the fuck out of here with the skimmed fat shit. You drink your goddamn whole milk like a goddamn man. It's actually
I'm
important.
gonna
The
say-
whole milk is like the important part of the nutrition of the milk. And when you
Yeah, so
skim
I-
whole milk,
I
you're
just
taking
prefer-
all of the nutrition out of it.
Yeah, I just prefer 2% personally for the taste. Whole milk's pretty good. If I'm gonna have skim milk, I might as well just have water.
Yeah, thank you. I say that
Even
all
when-
the fucking time when my mother tries to force skim
It's-
milk on me. I was like,
it's-
Mom, just
it's
give me water.
It's flavored water. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's also the most annoying fucking litmus test from mini painters saying, "Oh, just thin it to the consistency of skim milk." What does that mean? I don't have that in my fridge because I'm normal.
Because I'm normal. I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Frequently, when I could still, when my gut could still process regular milk, I did in fact prefer.
Well,
Now,
what I found.
if you can't take it and skim milk is your only option, okay, fine. You have a valid reason if you still want milk.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no! I
That's-
fuck that. I didn't go for skim milk. I was like, no. I'm gonna switch to like lactose-free milk that still is. Look, is it 2%?
Well,
No. Is it still a lot better for me than fucking skim? Yes.
Well, see, the thing is, right, like, when it comes to people developing intolerances to milk, it's usually because they didn't drink milk for a long period of time, A. And B, it's because they switched to much like the groundwater, the milk you are buying is usually sourced fairly locally. You know, air quote, caveat, caveat.
Yeah.
But the most efficient way to get milk is from local. And then they mix them in giant vats, and we're not
Yeah.
being descended from certain groups. Yeah. But not everyone wins the genetic lottery. Being Dutch.
Yeah. In my case, the doctors have no idea why the hell I developed lactose intolerant because, like, this is gonna sound dumb to say, right? But I was an American school kid. I was having milk
yeah.
with every fucking lunch. Like,
I mean, it
right,
might have been because you just went for a period without it.
nope.
Yeah. Well,
It's specifically the whole
I-
reason I stopped drinking milk was because in 5th grade like I became a lethal hazard after lunch for anybody sitting behind me because it was just the most rank farts in existence.
I mean, that might just be gut
Yeah.
biome.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said,
Isn't
doctors
eating
have
red
no
meat
idea, but-
carcinogenic? Living's carcinogenic.
Smoking your meat technically is, I think.
Yeah, smoking your meat's also carcinogenic, but hey, look, what it comes down to at the end of the day is, you know what's more carcinogenic than eating red meat? Eating processed food. Literally any of it. Eating a TV dinner is more carcinogenic than red meat. Eating, fucking, prepackaged Dave's sausage is more carcinogenic than eating red meat. Like, the less ingredients in the food, the better. And the more ingredients you can pronounce without trying, the better. Stay away from mono and it was mono and triglycerides.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say the big problem with the U.S. is they've made it so hard to get normal food. Like, it's way more and that's part of the problem, right? It's so much more
Yes.
expensive for me to go to like my local butcher.
Well, it is, but it actually really isn't. Oh, yeah, seed oils. Yeah, stay the fuck away from seed oils. The fucking big seed oil was a terrible thing for America. Getting away from tallow, getting away from... Honestly, dude, if you have an actual local butchery, you can actually probably go up to the butchery and just be like, hey, do you guys have scrap tallow? And they'll give it to you, because they were going to throw it away regardless. Sometimes you can just pay for it. So it's not called tallow pre-processed. It's called suet. S-U-E-T. Processing suet into tallow is super fucking easy. You just take giant glumps of suet and you dump it into a pot, and you cook the pot on very low heat for a while, and then it all melts, and then you have little tiny crispy bits of what's left of the suet, and you fish those out, and you dump them, and then you find a nice big container to put the suet into, and you put the suet into that container, and then you fridge it. And congratulations, now you have tallow. It's going to last you for about a year or more. Technically speaking, if you process the tallow right, that tallow is going to last for about 20 years. Now, obviously, if you leave the fucking carton open and you let shit get on it, it's going to start festering. But if you put it in a sealed container in a cool environment, that shit's going to last for 20 years. It doesn't even need to be your fridge. It can just be a shelf that doesn't get regular sunlight. That shit's great. Like, tallow, like, if you think you need half a stick of butter for something, like a tiny spoonful of tallow does the exact same amount. It doesn't burn in the pan. It adds a nice beef flavor to anything you use it on. It is great. So good. And same thing for lard. It's so good. It's way better for you than the seed oil shit. It's way better for you than even butter. And it doesn't burn as quickly or as easily. So it actually like cooks things. And then they slide off the pan really nicely. And if you're using it with cast iron, that shit gets ingrained into the cast iron, and that's good. People
Here's
just
my
have
problem with
to
using it on cast iron. Eventually, everything ends up tasting kind of beefy, and there are times when you do not want that.
Well,
That is false.
then you scrub it out and re-season it with some sort of nonstick of your choice.
Yeah.
From olive oil to more lard, if that's
Yeah.
what you want. The nice thing about cast iron, it's super easy to scrub out because you could just take the steel wool to it and not worry about it.
I'm sorry, I have to take a
You do
moment to
not
complain.
unseason a cast iron pan. You get another cast iron pan.
Well, you see, Atin here has
No,
a
I have
very
to take a moment.
refined palate.
No, my mother is a barbarian.
Oh,
She put our cast iron in the fucking dishwasher.
No, you don't.
I got you one better. It caused me physical pain to watch this. My Italian grandmother
Oh no.
put the cast iron into the sink, poured Dawn dishwash soap all over it, and then
Oh, no.
scrubbed.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know what's worse.
Did
Re-season that.
she re-season it?
And then she put it in the dishwasher.
No.
I knew that was coming.
God
See,
damn it.
I'm
Okay, so-
frustrated because you can scrub it out. You're allowed to do that, but you have to re-season it.
And then
You
I
have
said
to take
to
another
her,
rag, unused, and soak it in some sort of oil.
and then I said
protect
to her, "Why did you do that? Now it's unseasoned." And she looked at me and said, "What do you mean? I already seasoned it years ago."
Oh no.
You
Okay,
just-
so the Italian police immediately kicked down the door and arrested her, right? That's how this ends?
No. Yeah, unfortunately, because
Oh.
they are Italian, you're not allowed to disagree with them. And
Yes,
once they've
of course.
declared that they've done something correctly, they've done it correctly, regardless of the reality of this. And then she constantly complains that the cast iron is bad because things just keep sticking to it.
That's because you unseasoned it.
And then didn't do anything to fix that.
Mods unseason this man's cast iron.
No.
I'm sorry. I think that can go solely in the same category as don't mess with another person's food. Don't fuck with their cast.
No, don't fuck with a man's car. Don't fuck with a man's cast iron.
Some people are getting older and they can't eat what they used to. Weak.
I'm gonna say that the car is gonna be optional depending on how much of a jackass the person is.
Yeah.
There are certain things that will get your car keyed, yes.
Man, that's frustrating because I learned about cast iron seasoning because I saw owner of their house, scrubbed out her cast iron because it had been a minute, and then I saw her soak a fresh rag in olive oil. I was like, "What are you doing that for?" It's like, "Oh, you have to re-season the cast iron if you're going to wash it out like I did." It's like, "Oh, okay. Why is that?" So food doesn't stick to it, and so that depending on what you season it with, it imparts a bit of that flavor to whatever you're cooking in there too. It's like,
Yeah, especially if you
Makes
scrub it
sense now.
down with Dawn soap and then all your food starts tasting like Dawn soap and you don't understand why. Yeah.
she just scrubbed it out with Dawn soap, put it in the dishwasher, and then
Then it
didn't
tastes
think,
like
"Oh
Dawn
yeah,
soap.
I should season it again."
No, because you only have to season it once.
If you're never gonna wash it, that's correct. But she watched it. I appreciate. By the way, can I just say I do like that. That's a consistent thing I've seen, which is there are two camps that pretty much agree with each other about when it comes to seasoning the cast iron. You can re-season it as much as you want after washing it, or if you don't plan to wash it, just never season it again.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with each other whatsoever because at the end of the day, it's seasoned.
And
Like,
some
okay,
some
you can rinse
dumbasses
it
are
out.
like, yeah, some dumbasses are like, oh, but how do you clean it? It's like, okay, well, you take the cast iron, and then you put it under the running water, and then you take this nice little sponge here that isn't scrubby, and you just circles on it, and then the crap
exactly.
comes off, and then you put the cast iron in the oven, and you heat it up, and you let the air off, water off.
And then maybe you put a little extra olive oil or whatever you
Yeah,
season it with.
maybe you
won't.
re-season a little tiny bits. But yeah, you like it's just like it's not fucking rocket science, people.
No, it's chemistry.
Yeah,
You're right.
Literal
technically is
nerds
rocket
and
science.
chemistry.
Yeah, technically chemistry does cover rocket science. So But anyway, yeah. So that's where I was doing what I was doing, the places I was doing it at. I picked up more Kahlua because it is the clear winner between Australian Mr. Black and the Arabic Kahlua. The Kahlua is the clear coffee liquor winner. Just hands down, it's just a better, smoother taste. I'm not paid by Kahlua to say this.
But we could be.
Well, we could
Hashtag
be.
not an ad. Hashtag could be an ad.
Now, I will say on that topic as well, before we get started with the fan fiction finally, Agura is going to be drinking a funny drink, and it's going to make her do funny things.
Oh no.
Wait,
in an
when is
upcoming
this?
Stream. In her next stream, apparently.
Is it? Wait, is that one of the? Is that a members only one?
It might be. I'm not sure.
Well, I may have to finally give Gura money.
Yeah. So it was just like one of those scenarios of like, I'm like, Gura, please do not re-enter your drinking arc. I realize the Japanese aren't competent shitheels, but do not re-enter your drinking arc, please.
Too late.
Oh. Oh no. Wait, yeah, hang on a second. There's an established pattern here.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So, yeah. The Japanese are truly awful. Anyway, speaking of that, let's get into the fanfic tonight. Phoenix at one point did ask, I've started reading a Bleach Madoka story. Was Rukia really this stupid in canon? Yes.
Probably.
I don't even know what level of stupid you're referring to. Yes. She was really dumb.
Yeah, once you get into Soul Society and you start learning about how that stuff works, like, wow, that... why would you do things this way?
Well, no, it's not just Soul Society. It is literally Rukia. It's like, why does Rukia know this apparently forbidden technique exclusively used on people with spiritual presence who are still alive?
I wonder.
The Japs denied Callie her Dark Souls 3 permissions so she can't restart it. Yeah, not surprised.
What?
The Japs are just consistently fucking retarded. I don't. They are retarded successfully, I guess is the best way to put it. Because
can we maybe put that as the Japanese company and not start throwing around shorthand?
Okay, yeah, sure. Every
We're still
single
on
Japanese company is fucking retarded.
Thank you.
Staffed by exclusively Japanese people.
Yes,
You're allowed to have that opinion.
You're still on Twitch. Sorry.
I'm aware. It's just very frustrating. And Sony, Hitachi, Toyota. Name a Japanese company, and you can pretty much name 5 things they've done stupid in the past year.
Now, hang on. Sony hasn't been a truly Japanese company for the last, 3 years?
That was their biggest mistake!
That was their biggest mistake, yes.
He's correct. So we can still roll all those screw-ups under Sony HQ's purview, because it happened because of their decision to put... Yeah, because
they
they're
let
like, oh,
themselves get bought out and moved into California. That is completely their mistake.
Well, no, it was their gaming branch specifically.
Well,
also,
but...
a horrible fact I learned. So, Sony is known for a few things over in Japan. They were actually well known for their health insurance. Did you know that as an American, we can now get that health insurance?
In Japan?
What?
No, we can get it here in the US. We can get Sony health insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Really?
It's horrifying.
Sony brand health insurance.
That's
How about
cool.
that? It's sort of like an
Get your
inevitability.
Sony health insurance.
Yeah, it's like sort of like an inevitability, really. Whenever a company gets big enough, like I'm not surprised at all that Amazon is getting into the pharmaceuticals, and I'm sure they're going to be, and they're also offering health insurance already as well. By the way,
Oh, I know.
It's inevitability when a company gets big enough, because eventually that 1% overhead, that 3% overhead, stops being like $10,000 and starts being like $10 million, and you're like, Yeah, you know what's cheaper than $10 million? Just having our own fucking branch.
Yeah.
That's not surprising. Uh, also, Phoenix has mentioned the special kind of stupid was removing the barrier between Spirit World and a Bleach and the Magical World. Yes, Canon Rukia would
Especially-
absolutely do that for
No,
some
no,
inane, stupid
Oh,
nonsense.
there's like 3 different ways I can see her justifying it. Way one is that the magical world of Madoka is separate from the normal world of Madoka, and therefore they should fall under the jurisdiction of the spirit world because of overlap. Or two, the monkeys are too stupid to understand and they need to be controlled. Three, I don't like people. And I think I'm right.
I am getting real tired of the last 2 to 3 weeks of me banning at least one bot every stream.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite
Yeah,
pernicious.
Twitch finally actually started
Maybe
doing
that
like
means we're
restricted automated chat messages, which
yeah.
is great because it's like, hey, this is a likely harasser, so we've restricted their chats to only be seeable in mod view. It's like great. Oh my god, 2 in one stream, and we're
Yeah,
not even
wow,
an
damn.
hour in. Motherfucker.
That's crazy. It doesn't even transmit over to Restream.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's unfortunately that's why I don't really like a lot of Bleach stories, as they're like either Rukia apologists or they try to incorporate Rukia just early on in general, so so she can be a point of drama, and it's just like I hate it. It's so tiring. It's if I wanted to deal with irritable women who think they're right regardless of all facts otherwise, I would just go visit my dad.
That's what. So you talk to your mom or stepmom?
Yeah.
I mean, you could talk to the other parent as well.
Yeah, or I could talk to my mom for a while.
See, you
Or,
can just
or
pick
I
up
can
the
go talk to
phone
my
for either
sister
parent.
or my
Yeah,
grandparents.
you've got a lot of familial options for that.
It is so my aunt and her spawn family has decided to go to New Zealand and visit one of her spawn that fled to New Zealand, thinking that surely halfway across the entire fucking planet they will not visit me.
Oh,
This.
ye of foolish faith.
They did in fact visit it, and turns out he's gay, and really likes femboys. So there's a question mark
Wait,
at
I'm
the
sorry.
end of
Hang on.
gay.
I need you to back up. What the fuck happened?
The spawn that moved to New Zealand is gay, but there's a question mark at the end of the gay because we saw his boyfriend and his boyfriend looks like a girl, but definitely isn't. So yeah, that's why there's a question mark there. But anyway, they sent us a video of them singing "Happy Birthday" to either the spawn or his boyfriend, and the boyfriend looked like he was being held hostage.
Whoa. Probably felt like it.
Because let me just tell you, that section of the family is a little bit
Off.
Yeah. They're 27 marbles short of a bag.
Whew.
Yeah. So, the me fanfiction is crazy from President Donald Trump. Yeah, yeah. It is actually. Actually, kind of crazy. I've seen some of the stuff they posted to AO3 because I just kind of wanted to see it for the lols, right? Almost none of it's written by people on the right wing. I would say maybe 1 out of every 20 stories written by someone who showing the right-leaning. Like, 19 out of 20 stories are written by crazy leftists who somehow start the story by, like, raging against Trump and then end the story with begging Trump to hit them more and call them a bad girl.
I request you don't speak again, sir.
Kim Jong-un being my senpai is scary. Well, you know, yeah, you walk into those sorts of firms issue strike again. I submit everything will advance, and they still want me to cancel it. Look, I mean, if they want, you know, I think that the only good thing coming out of Western investment into HoloLive is maybe this whole perm shit's finally gonna get fucking dunked on for Ian.
Ugh.
Because this is insane. This is supposed to be the English branch. They're supposed to do English things for the English people. And you know what isn't English? This fucking perm shit. That's just. But anyway, let's see what we got going on here. What do we look at today, gentlemen? What do we look at today? Made fun of My Hero Academia. We've made fun of Naruto. Made fun of Doom. I really don't want to look at Bleach. Because it's just really boring. Every single time we've gone into the Bleach section, it's never been funny. Like, in the 8 years we've been doing this podcast, it's never been funny.
Yeah.
Oh, why is Rias garbage? Okay, great. DXD it is. So, Rias is garbage. Because she is basically female Izuku with boobs in the list of reasons as to why I hate her. She is given all of her power-ups. She doesn't work for anything. Even when she has a goal in her life that she 100% will absolutely fuck up her life to accomplish, she will not work towards that goal. At all. Until it is in the final hours, ADHD mode kicks in, and you debate the merits of firebombing your professor's house so you can get extra 3 days on the essay submission time.
Well, no. She did do some work, like the thing with Razu, right? As soon as she got Issei, she went to get him trained up.
No, she didn't.
She didn't? Am I
She did not.
remembering that wrong?
No,
You are.
So what happened was she knew about Issei for the entire time he's been at the school. And she never approached him, but she did have her familiars stalk him, and Koneko stalked him. And then, eventually, when they stopped stalking him, because Ria said, he's kind of weak right now, but he smells like a dragon, so it's like, I'll approach him later when he becomes more impressive. And so eventually what ended up happening was Issei stumbles into one of the familiars that's handing out a flyer that day. And I don't think we ever got a clear answer as to whether that was intentional or he accidentally just happened to find one of the familiars handing out the flyers. But he did. And he carried this flyer with him on the date with Rainere. And when she killed him, he still didn't have anyone watching him, despite a fallen angel openly, blatantly stalking the person she was trying to maybe eventually recruit. Possibly got it due to Grimoire luck powers. Yeah, true, really. Yeah, I believe that. And then it just so happened that as he was dying, he slapped his bloody hand on the circle and said, "Man, I wish I could see a giant pair of boobs before I die." And so Rias appeared, and she was like, "I'm here to grant your wish. What the fuck? Oh my god, Issei, oh my god, he's dying." And then she reincarnates him with 8 pawns. So keep in mind, Issei, who is described as having so little magical power that him multiplying his power by 10 wasn't enough to hurt anyone when he first started out. Issei was so weak that they couldn't even quantify how weak he was when he first started out. That's how weak Issei was at the start. And it took her 8 pawns to reincarnate him.
Well, so the number of pawns it takes is all about the potential for how much, what he can do.
No, it's immediate power and potential power divided by the devil reincarnation's power level. So their immediate power is dependent as well. If they're resisting it, if they're dead. There's a whole bunch of factors that are super vague in terms of numbers as to why they can or can't reincarnate someone. So, Rias incarnates Issei. Issei is now a devil. And you know what she does? She learns how little magical power he has. When he gets his first contract he has to show up to, and the magical circle doesn't even have enough power to detect him. He has so little magical power that the magical circle wasn't able to detect him. So he had to bike all of his contracts at first. And so Rias, knowing this, does nothing. And then one day, after, I don't know what the time frame was, maybe it was like a month of them doing contracts or something. I have no fucking idea if it was like 2 days or a month or whatever. One day, Riser shows up. And Issei pisses Riser off, forces Rias into a corner. She challenges him to a raiding game to break free of the marriage. He agrees, gives her 10 days to train up, as a laughingstock to beat him. And so they go off and do their training arc. And you know what they have Issei do for those 10 days?
Masturbate?
Peel potatoes. He doesn't work out. He doesn't get combat exercise. He doesn't train boosting himself. He doesn't do any sort of mana boosting exercise to expand his mana pool or some bullshit. He peels potatoes. And this is supposed to help him focus or something. And at the end of these 10 days, he comes up with a spell he can use after boosting himself that causes all magic to be dispelled. All magic.
How are these
Period.
two things related?
What do you mean?
He peeled potatoes. How did he achieve dispel magic from peeling potatoes?
Because it does this by cutting the object with Rasen Shuriken like blades of microscopic level.
Was he using a knife to peel the potatoes or his magic?
Yes, he was using a knife. He
Shut
was
the
using
fuck
any
up.
magic.
Author,
So
shut the fuck up.
DxD is stupid.
He was inspired by a boob-shaped potato, and he really wanted to look at the boob-shaped potato without its skin. And so he casted the spell Dress Break, as he calls it, and this strips the skin off the potato, and it also doesn't harm anyone when he uses it on them, and it breaks all of their skin, air quotes, as in their clothes, off of them, and makes them nude.
That's his "let me destroy your clothes" spell.
Yes, except actually it's a "let me dispel your magic" spell. Because it destroys all armor and all magic, no matter what it is, how old it is, or who cast it. And it's super cheap and super hyper efficient, and yeah, he just stumbled upon it because he really wanted to see boobs.
Hate you. I don't know who you are. I now have a personal vendetta against you.
So yeah, Issei didn't train at all effectively for these 10 days that he was given. He peeled potatoes. And so Rias, having made no progress on basically any of her peerage. So Gasper is still so traumatized he refuses to leave his room. Her queen refuses to use her holy powers at all because she hates angels so much. She's doing a whole Todoroki thing where if she added her holy energy, she probably could have soloed Riser's entire peerage.
Oh, of course.
But because she hates angels so much, she refuses to use that. And then, honestly, again, Kaneko also probably could have soloed the entirety of Riser's peerage, but she hates being a yokai so much that she suppresses all of her yokai abilities. Such as being a natural great sage. Because she, again, is traumatized so much, and Rias, despite having her for, like, 12 years or something...
Somehow never took her to fucking therapy?
Never gave her therapy, never pressed the issue, never tried to help her get better. She was just like, oh, she'll just get better with time.
Oh, what a great boss.
Also, by the way...
subordinate, I see you're suffering from severe mental trauma. Stop.
Also, by the way, she proceeded to name her new child that she was given to by her older brother. She proceeded to name this child Pet Cat in Japanese.
Yeah, I see no problem there. I mean, come on. What else is she gonna call it? Pet dog?
By the way, because Koneko is now a devil, she actually knows what her name means instantly every single time Rias calls her it. So imagine your boss, from your ripe age of like 6 or 4 years old, I forget which, calling you my pet cat. From your traumatized childhood of having your entire race nearly genocided because your older sister used her yokai abilities of being a cat to absorb nature energy, and she went crazy, air quotes. And your boss calls you my pet cat every single time you see her. Rias is really good at this whole not rubbing trauma into people thing. Wasn't
Holy
the genocide
shit.
fanon?
Is Rias secretly like a Russian?
It was the genocide fanon. It's a mixed bag on that. Yes, but no. So it was never explicitly outlined as a genocide, but it was explicitly outlined as Koneko was given to Rias to protect her from the people demanding her head for existing, and from the throwaway lines about how it's really hard to find a Bakeneko. I believe that's what her race is now. For with a two-tailed cat is what I'm trying to say. It's really hard to find a two-tailed cat yokai now. And Kuroka also makes mention at times of how she needs to like restore her race's population. So it was never explicitly outlined as a genocide. It was just really heavily implied that the population of two-tailed cats are dangerously low now for some reason. It's also unspecified why the devils and the Western yokai are not on great grounds with each other because of a event that might have occurred in the past. What that event is, you know. So anyway, so Rias is now 2 for 2 on traumatized, so 3 for 3 actually on traumatized subordinates that she has absolutely not helped at all whatsoever, despite having them from a very, 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 very young age. I think Keno was like 10, Gasper was like 10, Kaneko was like 6, so she had them for many years, and they were very young during this time period. And she could have easily gotten them help and gotten them over their issues because they are children, and children do bounce back quite well, actually. But she didn't. Her parents didn't. Her older brother didn't. None of their subordinates at any point in time pointed out that maybe you should de-traumatize your subordinates. You know, just so you don't have a fucking time bomb next to you. You know, despite her knowing that she was going to always challenge Riser to a rating game, at no point in time did she ever try and help Kaneko get over her trauma so she could use her full powers. At no point in time did she ever help Akeno get over her trauma, despite calling her sister in all but blood. She never helped Akeno get over her trauma, because helping people get over your trauma is nosy and intrusive and not very Japanese. And so the characters, despite being not Japanese, of course follow Japanese culture in doing absolutely fucking nothing about someone else's problems because they specifically never spoke up about their problems, because you don't burden other people with your problems. Despite none of them being Japanese besides Akeno, who was a sheltered child who didn't really even experience Japanese culture because she was sheltered in a spiritual priest clan. And outcast from a said clan as well at the same time, so she was even more of a sheltered child because she couldn't go out and visit the few people she could visit, because an outcast due to her father being an angel. So then Kiba, who she found also borderline near dead, massive trauma about the whole Holy Blade incident, massive boner of hatred for the Holy Blade incident, very understandable massive hate boner for the whole Holy Blade incident, to be honest. I mean, you know, all of your friends and found family are slaughtered in a giant event, not because of some sort of faction dispute or because they have to stop something from happening or whatever. No, they were slaughtered because it was a lot of work to move them after they got found out about their illegal experiments. So they just decided to kill them all instead. Because that was less work.
Perfectly reasonable.
To be fair, she's the same age as Akeno. She's literally a teenager. No, she's not, as far as I'm aware. I think she's like 20.
They're both the same age.
Oh, they're the same age? Okay. Well, that's even more than, again, okay, so I can't blame Rias as much, but then I can blame her parents, for promoting a environment in where trauma is dismissed and you don't do anything about it. Nekomata, thank you. Right. And Neko Show. Yeah. And now I can sort of understand if the parents were like, we're gonna sabotage Rias by not helping her with her traumatized subordinates, so she'll lose the rating game battle to Riser. But then her brother, who is the leader of the fucking country, who is a not tactical genius, but heavily experienced in war, and, you know, obsessively loving towards her, he didn't say anything, or do anything, or mention it. He just kept giving her traumatized people to recruit. He gave her a Keno, he gave her Kaneko, he gave her Kiba.
Boy, trauma dumping got really weird.
He gave her... Yeah.
I'm sorry, that joke just came to me. I was like, yes.
He was technically trauma dumping, except he was just dumping the traumatized people on someone else. If I recall, Kenna was the only one he didn't give Rios.
No.
Yes, but no. Okay, so it's like this, right? How did Rias get into the human world in a position to run into the surviving progeny of one of the Onomji clans and a fallen angel? Her brother brought her there. Conveniently, right next to one of the clans. You know, as a brother does, who's very obsessive about their safety of their younger sibling, they bring him right next to one of their main enemies who would attack them on sight. That's what conveniently just so happened to run into them. Kiba, I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you, but you don't just take a casual stroll in the obscure wilderness of Europe and be like, oh, I just conveniently found this random person in this forest who is dying, who just so happened to want to be reincarnated as a devil and has superpowers. Yeah, while I was taking this casual stroll in a different fucking planet. That was just a coincidence. You know, I was just out, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go fly to a different planet. And then I did that, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a stroll right here in this exact location in a random rural part of Europe that has absolutely no humans in it.
Oh, hey, a
Wow.
human.
I can't believe I found someone with superpowers on the brink of death conveniently right in front of me as I started to take my casual stroll through the uninhabited rural sections of Europe.
Weird.
This was definitely a coincidence.
Well, okay, when you put it like that, it sounds really bad, Sneaky.
Yeah. Things fucking
I'm
stupid.
gonna need context on the rape. Okay, hold up. Whoa, what the...
Wait,
Rix?
what?
Rias raping the fox girl to get out of the marriage in that crossover I told you about really does seem like a Rias move. The crossover you told us about.
Do you have the slightest idea how little that narrows it down, child?
Was this the crossover where the fox girl is an isekai guy who turned into a fox girl in Danmachi and then eventually crossed over into DxD?
What a word salad you just threw at us.
I would
there.
say that's a lot of
that
words,
one.
and I
Okay,
hate
it
all
was
of them.
that one. I knew exactly the one he was talking about.
I really wish you didn't.
Oh, I do know this one.
Yeah. And then she tries to ask Issei to have sex 5 minutes before Ria shows up in canon anyways. Yeah. And she uses her mind control powers to make the fox girl a wet dream who, oh right, also has a penis during the wet, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that happened. So basically, right, so the fox girl has, like, this whole, werewolf blessing, where instead of turning into a werewolf, she turns into a transvestite. Who gets basically uncontrollable urge to rape the nearest woman during the full moon. And Rias, knowing this, positions herself into a scenario where the main character, Fox Girl, can't say no to the sex because she's effectively drunk and high.
It was an entire thing.
Yeah.
Let us just leave it at that.
And then the
Wow.
author just glosses right over it and just never mentions it again. It just doesn't come up ever again. Rias and her make up. It's fine. Because, you know, when a guy gets raped, it's funny. Yeah, the Kotori one. Yeah. Yep. Whoops, it was all Contempt of the medium all along. Yep. Argentorum was right? Yes. I don't know what he was right about, but I'll just agree.
I wish I knew who that author was off the top of my head.
Argentorum?
Yeah.
The 10 times author for Worm. The guy who ran off with a whole shit ton of commission money.
Nope.
He wanted to go publish his own original story.
Oh, that fuck.
Yeah.
Don't know who that is, but fuck him.
Yeah. He has like a commission list 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the size of Sign's commission list, and like 3 times the price. And despite knowing that he was going to be shifting to publishing his original story, he still took commissions for months. Yeah, he's been posting recently again on his snippet thread. Yeah, that's because a bunch of people started requesting refunds. Yeah. And when you do a chargeback, they take the money from you regardless of you having it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He is now writing crack pieces, including 2 literally this week. One from a homebrew cultivation story, and one about 4 characters from. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I don't know why he would write these instead of the ones on his. Oh, so he's not even writing the ones on his list. I'm not surprised. I think he's trying to buy time. I think he's trying to make everyone think that he's totally gonna start posting Worm stories again. So stop charging me back. But yeah, he ran off with a lot of money, and to be honest, his original story is pretty fucking mid. I see this with a lot of fan fiction authors that get popular. They're good at writing the fan fiction. They're really fucking dog shit at writing their original story because most of the time they end up writing it like a fan fiction. As we've often discussed, writing a fan fiction, you got the fucking house pre-made, you got the walls made, you got the furniture already there. Yeah, as a fan fiction, sometimes you're ripping that furniture out, you're repapering the walls, maybe you're redoing the floors, but you still got that foundation and that house and that frame and all that shit already up. You don't have to expand upon that. You can just start talking about fucking Naruto throwing out Rasengans to a bunch of Naruto fans, and you don't have to explain what Naruto is, you don't have to explain what a fucking Rasengan is, and you don't have to explain how he's doing it. Because they're Naruto fans, they already know that shit. But when you're writing an original story, you're like, yeah. And then my character, Shishimi, just started throwing out bolt daggers left and right with his cracker gun. And started killing all the demons from the hyper portal. 99% of people are going to look at you and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're going to have to, like, explain at least half of those so I can understand what the hell's going on. Argentorum is who we joke that sign really is. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, he went out for milk and never came back.
Yep.
Signtorium. Yeah.
Hey,
Raven's
no,
Dagger
hang
is a
on a
good
minute.
example. He wrote a
Hang
story
on a
where
minute.
one of his OCs gets isekai into Pokemon and it was a smash hit. He then wrote literally the same story but with his own original setting instead of Pokemon, and it's mid as hell. Yeah. That's because I mean, Pokemon has a lot going for it, right? I mean, you got to keep in mind the majority of the people reading it these days are our generation. So that means we grew up on Pokemon Red and Blue, and we have a whole lot of fond memories of childhood based around Pokemon series. And so there is a whole. We're coming to the table of a Pokemon fanfic already fondly looking at it. Like we're starting at plus 25 reputation with the Pokemon fic before we even read it because it's just a Pokemon. When you try and be like, yeah, so there's monsters in my world. And they're elemental. They got all these weird, wild elemental powers, and sometimes like they evolve into other ones when they get strong enough or they live long enough. Yeah, and then humans run around and they capture them in these talismans. Then they dogfight them.
Oh, it's just Pokemon.
You're gonna get so it's just Pokemon. And then everything you do from there is, so this is just Pokemon. Oh, Pokemon did this better. Oh, Pokemon did that better. Oh, Pokemon did this better. So when you create the direct comparison, deserve it or not, a lot of the times it is deserved. You're gonna get a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is just blank," and then they're gonna look at it and go, "Oh, well, Kingdom Hearts did this better." Oh, well, Kingdom Hearts did that too, and they did it better as well. And then so now your story is now being compared against one that they have favoritism towards because of childhood memories, because of a published writing that is large, so it has a authority fallacy for it. It has the foundation already set. You know, they were here first. They planted the flag already, so everyone that comes after them is going to be, you know, compared to them on some level. And it's why I really hate Ruby, because I would like to write a story that involves infinite death monsters constantly spawning on the fringes of civilization, nipping away at humanity. But if I do that, everyone will just say, oh, so it's just Grimm from Ruby. They would be right. But the concept itself is a cool idea. And it's just unfortunate that someone else got to plant their flag in the zeitgeist first.
Just gotta wait until Ruby's nothing but a memory.
We'll just do it better.
Will not be happening
Yeah.
anytime soon, unfortunately.
But yeah, so just coming in and being like, hey guys, this is my massively OC story with all of these OCs running around, and here's basically Pokemon, except I don't call it Pokemon. They're not called Pokemon, except it is basically just Pokemon. People are going to not approach it favorably, and you're going to get compared to Pokemon, and Pokemon has hundreds of writers, for good or ill, has decades of story, decades
For
of
good
lore,
or for ill.
for good or for yeah, all of this is for good or ill. Decades of mechanic improvement,
And
for
improved.
good or ill. And so you are put in a scenario where you are not David, but you are fighting Goliath. And it's just a really foolish thing to do, generally. Pokemon has a lot of for good or ill in it. Yeah. Honestly, if Atin was here, he would be able to tell us. I think it was Jim Butcher who ended up writing Pokemon in the Roman Legion.
Yes, that
And-
was just.
Right. Yes. I'm
What do you
glad
mean
that
if
you're
Adam was
both
here? I
here.
just don't. There's just nothing useful for me to. Listen, when I have something useful to add or a good joke, I'll chime in.
Oh no, see,
Yes,
I triggered
but
I triggered the ability. You see, I did the call Atin ability,
Yeah.
forcing you to respond.
Also, you do have a habit of walking off around this time in the stream.
Yeah.
True.
So
But I usually say I'm going to go get dinner for that.
No, you don't.
no, sometimes you just walk off. Don't pretend.
You do.
Sneaky's made these calls for you before, and you didn't say a thing because you just walked off to do something else that didn't involve food.
It happens a lot.
Yeah. If Ruby be like, I'll never be a memory. Yeah. So it's a problem. The only way to capture the position that the previous property held is to change it enough that people fondly look on the fact of what it is, or replace it wholesale. Right, so Pokemon Legion Romans. Okay. Roman Legion and Pokemon.
No, hang on. Pokemon Roman Legion. That could be very interesting.
He took the elemental aspects out of the Pokemon and made it like spirits you make like a bargain with or some shit, and it's not children running around doing it. It's like a whole organization thing to it. And
It's an entire empire.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so to be clear, there's absolutely still an elemental aspect to the spirits. It's just it's much more overt than Pokemon. Like
yeah,
this is
that's what I'm saying,
this
yeah.
is Charizard. It's a fire lizard. This is. Do you want a fire spirit? Well, bitch, go to a volcano.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is they took the elemental spirit out of the Pokemon and was like, hey, this is what we're working with instead of.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he did that, and people now look at that story fondly by saying, oh, this is Pokemon with the Roman Legion.
Yeah.
And they don't go like, oh, this is just Pokemon with the Roman Legion. So it's a massive difference because he took the parts that worked, put them together, made an original story out of it. It's enjoyable. It's well written. Boom. Now, he didn't replace Roman Legion, and he didn't replace Pokemon. Then you can have replacements like what Amazon tried to do, where they tried, like what Disney tried to do with Star Wars, what Amazon tried to do with Lord of the Rings, and where they tried to make a new generation of content for a previously established zone, and they try to either make so much content or basically pave over the old content, like what they tried to do with Acolyte, where they had Acolyte have all these space lesbians in it, and they were the ones that inspired Pelagius to create Anakin. And what that does is it recontextualizes the previous property to try and basically Othello the property. I've never thought I'd be able to use Othello as a verb.
I would say, you know what? Your English teacher is incredibly pleased with you right now.
I'm sure, yeah. And they try to Othello the property by doing this, by saying, oh, well, you know the motivation of this character in this old part of the property? Well, actually, they were inspired by this new thing. And so, by property of, I'm not really I'm not able to really conjure up the word for
Transient
property. Yeah, they are effectively claiming the older stuff and subsuming it underneath the new stuff they're making, and they're trying to shift perspectives of what people use when they think Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. They mostly failed because a key part of doing this sort of strategy is you need to produce something that is good. And they didn't. I can't wait for the critical race theory of Othello. Yeah,
That's not gonna go well with Othello, boys.
But yeah, so that's why Rias sucks.
We eventually got back to there.
Yeah, I would say, I do hate to be mean about this, but you really could have just summed it up as Rhea sucks for the exact same reasons Deku sucks, because she has a overarching, horrifying problem in her life that she will do anything to fix.
But she won't do anything to actually
fix it.
Well, no, by the way, she did try and fix it as well by convincing Issei to sleep with her. And
No. I want to be clear. Until that moment, she
Yeah.
did nothing to try and fix it. She decided that the best way to try and fix it was to put someone else in a horrific amount of life-threatening danger without warning them about that. And while she was at it, she decided to give everybody else 7,000 different kinds of trauma and make it so much worse.
Yeah. So yeah, really, that's why I hate Rias. And I mean, the reason why I went on the whole rant really is because I said I would. I said I would last time about Rias, and I said I would go on a long rant about why I hate Rias, and there's a lot of things that go into it, and I had to kind of explain everything that goes into it, kind of like a build. I hate Rias. But yeah, that's why I don't like Rias as a character. That's why I don't like Izuku as a character. Do you think if Deco was a woman, he would try and fuck his way into a solution to his problems like Rias?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Doubt.
No.
It's the same personality,
so,
no.
Personality isn't right for a multitude of reasons, the chief of which is the horrific bullying that Deku suffered. Rias thinks that she can sleep her way through her problems because, one, her problem is that she's currently being used as an object for sleeping.
Yes.
Two...
Well, it's not just that. It's also the fact that devil.
She's a devil, and three, part of her entire, life and upbringing and all that is, right, she's hot.
Yeah.
She's literally made to be hot. She knows that she's hot.
Imagine if Rias had Aaron's problem-solving mindset. That's a fan fiction I would read.
That would be great.
That is absolutely a fan fiction I would read.
Oof.
Firebomb their house. They're immune to fire.
Spoken
Firebomb
word.
them harder.
Rias' first spoken words in this fanfiction will be, "I'm going to kill them all." No context.
Actually, you know what? That would be an absolutely hard line to start the fan fiction with. That would go so hard. Like, that's how you fucking start that. That would actually work really well. I'm a firing my fucking laser! I mean, honestly, it would be really crazy easy. That's the other thing, right? Like, much like Izuku, Rias could easily train her way out of this. She has
Yeah.
the power of destruction. She literally has the God-given power of select, delete. Literally God-given. She could, without even training that. Like, she doesn't need to train it. Without training, the power of destruction already deletes things. If she just trained her mana pool constantly, every day, doing everything possible to wear it out, to use the mana, to expand the pool, to do everything possible, make her power of destruction more efficient. Imagine a scenario in where it's cheaper. I don't fucking use some mage hypnosis. She's a big anime fan. Are you really telling me that when she has access to a hypnosis spell and false memories spell, that there is not a single anime out there like Fate where mages use that to make their spells work?
Self-hypnosis is a thing, and it's really fucking good
If
for actually...
If Issei can use the power of the devil power, by the way, so the whole reason why his dress bake spell works is it's combining dragon power of fuck you this happens and devil power of fuck you I imagined it, and it's putting them together. All Rias has to do is use the power of fuck you I imagined it to imagine her power of destruction costing less, and then she just has to believe it. And it works. Because she's casting entropy. In fact, technically speaking, because she is casting entropy at people, she shouldn't even need any power to do it. She should be able to just cause entropy in a direction and have everything else pay the price of the energy required to do so, because entropy really likes to entropy.
Yeah. Entropy just does what it wants, whenever it wants, because that's what it is.
It's kind of like a rock being shoved down a hill. Yeah, there's a little bit of initial energy you need to spend to get that rock rolling, but the second you fucking move that rock and it starts rolling, you don't need to spend any more energy.
Yeah.
So if you can just spend as little energy as possible, if you can pull an Aragon and pull some energy from your environment to cause the initial entropy chain reaction, then you basically could cast delete beams for free. And there is plenty of anime and manga out there that has themes like that in it. Easily could have had Rias come up with ideas like that. Rias easily could have won against the Phoenix Immortality Fire because she's casting entropy, and entropy doesn't give a shit about time. It wins. Because it's entropy.
No.
So it's like watching a Pikachu who has beat the Elite Four fought gods and won. Lose to a level 4 water type. How? Sneaky.
There was
Rios.
also the Snivy.
Want to kill them all. Yeah. Yeah, it's just...
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, also, it's like, she has the perfect defense as well. She just creates a wall of entropy and then everything hits it and dies.
I'm sorry. She's got all these like perfect things.
She has the
And she's
perfect
just
skill
she's
set.
just accepting this nonsense.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize how deep her abilities actually ran. It's like, congratulations. You have a Green Lantern ring at your disposal,
Oh,
but
it
you're
quite
too
literally is.
stupid
Yeah.
to use it.
Oh, yeah. No, because, like, it quite literally is, because it's not just, oh, I shoot beams of destruction. It's called the power of destruction, not the beams of destruction, first off. And second off, it's so bullshit that her brother got famous for entering a Super Saiyan form in where he turns his entire body into a living mass of entropy.
Yeah, the power of destruction is stupid and really broken. And yet,
So there is literally nothing you can't do with it.
it is
and-
limited entirely by imagination.
Yeah, and she again, it's another one of these scenarios, and this is why I really hate this shit. I hated it with John and Ruby. I hate it with Izuku and My Hero Academia, and I hated it with fucking Rias and DxD. Naruto went out and trained. Now, he went out and trained incorrectly, but he still trained. He still tried.
In fairness, him training incorrectly is not his fault.
Right? No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But he was trying. Is my point? Is he was actively trying to work towards his goal in the way he thought he would be able to. Now, he was wrong, but that's not his fault. Also, apparently, I don't know if this is canon or not, but he couldn't read until he actually got into school.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense because he didn't have anybody to teach him.
Nobody taught him
Right,
until then.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know if that's canon or not, but I think that is. But point being, though, right, is that John in Ruby is, we're told, a huge comic buff. A comic buff in a world with Grim and Aura in it, where the comic that he mentions in the world with Grim and Aura in it is a comic about a guy using his semblance to fight Grim and evil people.
No, I'm pretty sure the only comic they show is the X-Ray and Vav comic.
Yeah, it was just supposed to be a X-Men reference, I believe, right? Or Batman or Superman reference.
It's their general hero parody animated thing they did with Gavin and Rage Quit Jones.
Right.
It's
Point being,
self-referential. We don't know what the comic was, but we also know from real world there's comics that follow the lives of real people.
oh,
Real
sure.
heroes. We have stuff like that.
But my
We weren't
point
doing
is,
anything explicit, but there's enough.
right, but my point is also that we as humans aren't super creative, and that in a scenario and where you're making comics, you have everyone, if everyone in the world has the ability to have aura, and it's a prevalent thing with huntsmen, you know, there's fighting tournaments for them, there's giant schools for them. There's the mega 4-year tournament for them, and you're in a world where negativity is gonna get you killed. You're in a situation where your comics are likely going to be about huntsmen with like really special semblances, or maybe even extra powers or something, fighting bad guys, and probably usually grim, because thinking about people being bad is a mixed bag and might make people sad. But so usually it's going to be monsters, because monsters is way easier and huntsmen already fight monsters all the time. So what I'm trying to say is that John, who is a huge comic book buff, and now again, if it was just, oh, John only does this one comic, he doesn't know anything about comics besides this one comic, and this one comic just so happens to not be about someone with a semblance fighting monsters, that's one thing. But he's supposed to be this huge comic book buff. That's what he's supposed to have spent all his time doing, playing video games and doing comics.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have read more than one comic, which means there's an extremely high likelihood that he's encountered things like aura and semblances showing up in the comic books before, because it's really easy to explain superpowers. You don't need to use radiation. They probably don't even know about radiation. You don't need to use I mean, maybe like he bathed in dust and gained superpowers. That's probably a thing in the comic book world for Remnant. But you don't need esoteric explanations, is what I'm trying to say, for why this person has powers. Oh, they got bitten by a radioactive spider. They came from another world. In fact, I don't think aliens would be a really big thing, because space isn't really a big thing in Remnant. Because they can't get anything into space because their technology doesn't work in space. So, this is a very common thing, is that a lot of people don't think about it. Like,
there's at least one person that thought about it and tried to make something with it, but
well, yeah, what I'm trying to say is, like, the Hindu religion says, and in the Greek religion, and etc., say that the gods rode on chariots across the sky because their technology level was chariots. And so they couldn't really comprehend an object besides a chariot or a boat being used to transport people.
Yeah. Right. Some of the earliest science fiction involves giant ramps or cannons sending sailing ships into space.
Yeah.
Because that was, right, they were like, yes, what if we had, what's the fastest, most efficient way to get somewhere? It's a fucking boat. So what if we could put a boat in space? And of course, they weren't stopped by things like there's no air in space, because they didn't fucking know.
Yeah.
So space boat.
Yeah, a lot of people thought, like, oh, well, the boat will, like, float on the space air, because no one really knew that air got thinner the higher you got up. So they were like, they just probably assumed that, like, there's something in space that keeps the planets apart, right? They're not all crashing into each other. So there must be something for the boat to be in. Yeah. But yeah, like, so what I'm trying to say, though, is that Remnant explicitly knows that their technology doesn't allow them to go into space. So the interest in space would be exceedingly low. so you have a very small reader base. And then on top of that, since you can't fathom how technology could possibly work, because the gods had their chariots were blessed with wheels of fire. That's why they could fly in space. It's like Remnant isn't in that era anymore, so they can't just come up with like, oh, the twin gods blessed this ship to fly outside of the planet. Now the aliens are visiting us. They're not going to be able to come up with it. So, a lot of writers of a lot of content would fall back on aura semblances as an excuse as to the various powers that the various heroes in the comic books and movies have. Because it's just easier. You don't have to come up with excuses. In fact, you could probably find someone out there with a semblance to do the movie with. Oh yeah, the reason why this John Wick XB can do all of his crazy kung fu is because his semblance slows down time in his perception. So he's able to position himself perfectly every single movement he makes. There's probably a huntsman out there with that exact semblance, so you don't even need to CGI that shit. You could just have them use the semblance during the scenes.
Yeah.
So, it's just a lot easier for writers. It's a lot easier for the content consumers. So it's just really hard to believe that John would not be able to know aura semblances or how anything works. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Same thing for Izuku. He lives in a world where there's quirks everywhere, and there's blatant examples everywhere of people doing things that their quirk doesn't do. Of them running really fast or punching really hard when their quirk is my growl causes sonic tremors. So why wouldn't he just train his body? It's because he has to be this weak, pathetic guy so he can have a whole hero arc of him growing stronger. That doesn't really make much sense, but, it's whatever. That's why I hate Izuku. Rias, same thing. She's apparently this giant, fiction buff who spends so much of her time consuming fiction that she gets nothing else done. She has no idea what's going on in the town she's supposed to be running. She has no idea what's going on in the school she's supposed to be going to. She doesn't address the trauma of any of her subordinates. She's so unconcerned with her impending marriage that she doesn't even try to approach Issei and build him up, because holy shit, that would be a massive power play. Because, he has a fucking dragon gear, even if it's just a twice critical. If you build that guy up long enough, eventually, twice critical, 2 times 2 ain't fucking much, but 2 times 200 is way more. And you build that guy up enough, you've been there for him long enough, and he's going to have a massive feeling of debt and gratitude towards you.
I mean, frankly, the fact that she doesn't just immediately fucking stab Issei is stupid.
Oh, what, Rainieri
Have
or
him
Rias?
give him a piece. Rias.
Oh, you don't need to kill them to give them a piece.
I thought they had to be dying.
No.
But yeah, just the fact that you don't just walk up and go, "Hey, you massive, lonely, sad-ass pervert, I'll put you in a harem with a bunch of beautiful women and give you superpowers."
Yeah, I'll give you superpowers. You'll enter a culture where you can have all the women you want if you get strong. Help you get strong. I believe in your dream. Be the harem king.
All you gotta do is help me out of this marriage, bro.
I'll be forever grateful to you. I'll be so grateful to you. I'll suck your dick. Help me out of this marriage. Like, it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy for her. She had so many opportunities, so many angles. She's apparently a massive fiction buff, so she should have so many ideas. Even if it's just ripping shit off. Even if it's not using the power of destruction. Even if it's, she looked at some manga and some manga was like, yeah, this is my hyper fire punch fist, and I do it by concentrating all of the fire into one small point right in front of my fist, and then I punch people with it and it explodes in a giant fiery explosion. Even if she just did that, that would be more.
Literally anything. By the way, gentlemen, if I suddenly disappear, it's because until 10 p.m. there is both a tornado warning, a hail warning, and a severe thunderstorm warning.
Amazing.
There's starting to be a little crackle in the voice.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
hear the
that's
tornado
the,
approaching.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me, that'd be great. I'd be dead. Oh, the best part is my brother's not. Oh, yes, I'll die, and then my family gets my life insurance payout. I'll be the most valuable I've ever been to my family by being dead. The American dream.
Rias is just a Hiki Neat insert without the social anxiety. Yeah. Yeah, it's so frustrating. I hate Rias apologists. I hate Rias supporters. I hate Rias, just anything positive about Rias. She's a fucking terrible character. I like seeing her get dunked on more. If she happens to be helped in the process of the main character doing some wild shit, it's whatever. I'm not gonna bitch about it. But I hate the people that are like, oh, well, let me reframe Rias's actions to be some sort of benevolent helping person. It's like, no, fuck off. She's not. She's a lazy-ass bitch. And, like, I recently read a story that was like, oh, yeah, you know, well, Rias is having trouble training because Riser is interfering with her hiring trainers. He's threatening them all away from her. Okay, even if we ignore.
I don't think Riser would have the balls to do that because at that point, Big Brother's gonna step in.
Well, yeah, exactly right. And it's
Guess
just
who's
like,
doing the hiring?
even if we accept this completely outlandish scenario, she owns a training resort. She doesn't technically have to go to school. You know, and it's not like her family is actually monitoring her in the human world. As long as she's like, hey, I got here's my report card. It's all A's. I'm gonna graduate with A's. They'll be like, yeah, I guess she's doing that human world thing. Just go train. Just fucking okay. We're gonna create a giant ritual for this area, and everything inside this barrier is gonna have ×5 gravity. Just start fucking pumping iron.
Fuck, even if you don't do that, take any of your, what, 4 brilliant fucking subordinates and be like, hey, do my homework while I go train. Like, if you're not gonna scam your parents into thinking that you're going to, like, if you're not gonna trick them by pretending to go to school, just be like, hey, one of my brilliant subordinates, just do this fucking classwork for me. I'm gonna go pump iron or train my magic. Fuck, I'd even be less upset with her if she just said, do my homework for me while I go fucking read manga.
Graphia is monitoring her though, otherwise her and Issei would have fucked. I thought that was because she tripped some sort of alarm with her saying she's trying to break the contract by having sex.
As far as I knew, that's what happened. Like,
I don't think it's a 24/7 monitoring thing. I mean, it might be. Maybe like they have a familiar posted outside her door for it or something. But either way, I mean, like, there's so many ways to do it. Like, Grey Fia is probably not gonna tattle on her if she goes and trains. What I'm trying to say, right? So it's just like there's so many ways for her to press to not be the situation she's in, because she entirely deserves the situation she's in because she put herself into that situation. She dug the hole, jumped in the hole, buried herself in the hole, and then was like, "Oh my god, I'm buried alive. Ah, how could this have happened to me?"
Oh no!
Yes. Is the purpose of fan fiction not to develop her character? Absolutely. You don't develop her character, however, by doing apologia for her. You don't develop her character by giving her excuses, because she has none. She dug the hole, knowing it was a hole. She jumped in the hole, knowing it was a hole. She filled the hole, knowing it was a hole. And then, when it came time to breathe, oh my god, I'm buried alive. How could this have happened to me? This is so unfair. Like, even if she hadn't set up the rating game idea before this, even if she was always planning but never told anyone that she was going to challenge him to a rating game, she knew a rating game would decide it for a very long time and then did nothing about getting stronger to fight the rating game that she knew about. There's a fic I'm reading where Issei is dead and the MC instead has Rias trained to beat Rias rather than step in. You mean Rias trained to beat Riser? Oh, Game Master. Yeah, no, I love Game Master. Game Master is solid. That's good shit. There needs to be more of that. Game Master is OC shows up in DxD with the essence powers, but he chose the 3 essence, so he gets them all at the lowest power setting. Doesn't know what they do, and has to effectively work them up to 100% through effort. And his theme is DM for D&D. And so he he gets stronger by creating portals, and then he creates monsters inside these pocket dimensions, and if people defeat the monsters as part of a quest effectively, their emotions and energy they expend doing this gives him dungeon points, which lets him empower himself and unlock things for dungeon stuff. And it gives them a little bit of XP power to grant them a power-up. And the better the monsters they defeat, the more XP they earn, the more power they get from defeating them. And the more energy he gets. And so he created a super basic portal, which is you go into the inn and a big boobed bartender is like, "Oh, help me, hero! Defeat the rat in the basement with this sword." And Issei is like, "Oh my god, boobs! All right, sure." And so he takes the sword, and he goes into the basement and he sees the giant rat and he bashes the sword onto the stone and numbs his hands, and then the rat kills him. and the main character is just like, really? It's a fucking rat. How did you die? What the fuck?
Was it a dire rat?
No,
God damn.
just a rat.
Listen,
really
I
big
know
rat.
I'm pretty shit,
Like a
but I'm
chihuahua
pretty
sized
sure I
rat.
could kill a rat.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah, sneaky. Listen, I'm so ingrained with being annoyed with Sneaky saying things. Gray, that's because your body is 5 seconds away from giving into entropy at any given time.
Greg is like that one star that has like a black hole at the center.
Like,
That would be awesome.
Gray, if this was D&D, you would just be a walking entropy curse.
No, he would just be a level 1 wizard from 3.
Fair. Fair.
Yes, hello, I am a wizard who is level 1. I have 4 HP. 4 HP, you say? But cannot a cat kill you? Yes, you are correct. A cat does 4 damage in 1 round. I will die.
No, to be fair, the cat needs to do 16 damage in 1 round to kill you.
No? Not in 3.
No, wasn't it double your HP to instant kill you?
That's instant kill, but you get down and then
yes, down and then negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember all that.
Yep.
So I'm playing the gentleman correctly by having no HP still. Got it.
Well, I mean, you're playing as a warlock, which, I mean, it's sort of like being a wizard if you gave the dean a blowjob for your degree.
I hate that you brought that back up.
I will.
Also, I'm a rogue and a warlock. I'm worse.
Right, so you did it stealthily.
Yes, apparently.
Remember all the power that required Rias to use the 8 pawns for untrained aside came from the here. He probably couldn't kill a fly, let alone a normal rat. Well, yeah, that is the ongoing joke in the story. Where everyone's just like, how did Issei die? No, a rat. Oh, like a dire rat. No, like a rat. Like a really big rat? No, just a rat. Oh. Wow.
This was supposed to be the Red Dragon Emperor. He died to a rat.
But anyway, yeah. So Game Master is pretty good. But yes, it's developing Rias as someone who was up until this point lazy, and the Game Master is using her love of going on an isekai adventure to get her to go into the portals. Because he's setting up all the quests as if she's going on a generic isekai adventure. You know, fighting a bunch of monsters. Monsters reveal that they're working for the Demon King. The Demon King's general, the weakest one, of course, is coming. He's sending his lieutenants ahead. The lieutenants are sending their captains ahead. They have to fight the captain, and they fight the lieutenant, and they fight the general. You know.
Yes.
Still better than being the Opie Dragon? Yeah, 100%. That shit was so dumb. No, what I hate even more is the fact that EXE only happens because Issei being a fucking retard. And him manifesting the god of boobs causes the rest of the gods, who are disproportionately more powerful than everything in DxD, to show up. So fucking stupid. The dumbest shit.
Wait, I'm sorry. They actually made him become the god of boobs.
No. So his impassioned plea to boobs, using the power of devils and dragons, managed to punch through the distortion gap and reach out beyond the distortion gap to the god of boobs. And using this hole that Issei created, all of these really weird esoteric gods just started flooding in DxD, and they were all stronger than everyone in DxD combined. Each god individually stronger than everyone in DxD combined, including the Dragon of Infinity and the Dragon of Dream.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Well, I guess we need to rethink the name for the Dragon of Infinity then.
Yeah, well, I mean, also apparently they did have her power at one point, somehow.
You can't. So what? Now she's the Dragon of Imaginary.
She's the Dragon of Half Infinity.
It's not how. It's not how that works.
Halfway infinite.
Look. I'll accept the explanation if the author's like, oh yeah, she just called herself the Dragon of Infinity because she was an edgy little shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But something tells me that's not
No,
the explanation behind the name.
no. No, not. But yeah, so that's a whole different scenario because they're not doing Rias Apologia. Ishibuni cannot power level. Yeah. They're not doing Rias Apologia in the Game Master story. So it's fine. I just hate stories that are like giving Rias all these excuses as to why she couldn't do literally anything about her situation. And it's not really character development if you set up a bunch of not true reasons to save her character from. Because at that point, you're just replacing Rias with an original character named Rias who has a different backstory. Rias. And different personality than Rias. You're going to develop her differently than Rias. Writers writing Rias, Ruby, Deku, Eren, and list continues. Excuses, and it just keeps going. Yeah. Yeah, literally. I mean, again, Ruby is kind of a mixed bag. I mean, she trained really hard, and so writers typically write her as just being like kind of really competent in fights. Unless she needs to lose, then she obviously loses, regardless of how competent she is at fighting. That's one thing I really did hate about Ruby is because of the rule of cool. Whoever won wasn't any sort of like logical power stack of like, okay, so they have super speed, so they'd be able to like speed around this person, hit them before they can respond. But it's like, yeah, but like this person shoots fireballs and fire's really cool, therefore they win. Like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah, shooting a giant fireball explosion is pretty cool, but
You see, I won because I stacked more buffs.
It's that fucking clip of Momonga stacking buffs for a minute.
Oh, get that entire.
Oh
It's
my
good to know
god,
that.
the fucking edits of that is the funniest shit ever. Have you guys ever seen the Redditor edit?
No.
Oh, it is the funniest shit ever. It's the clip of him buffing himself, but like the spells are like logical fallacies maximized.
Oh.
Oh, good.
Source made it up.
You know,
Blessing
actually,
is sleeping mods, filter, yeah, filter word, capture word pass, spoiler abuse, greater band potential, buzzwords, same bag,
Greater straw man,
cherry pick, retardation,
announce Australian power,
derailment,
bait up.
bait up, pole
Oh,
flag,
boy.
essence, meme misuse. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that. Thank you.
No, so why do you just have that immediately? Feign retardation.
Feign retardation, yeah.
We have asked Nose questions that he is uncomfortable with.
I'm saving that one. That one.
Yes, I will have need of this at a future date.
I have a lot of these for meme purposes. Comprehend
That's
the
fair.
horrors knows, tell me. Yes, indeed. But yeah, so it just Ruby as a show is frustrating, not from a world building standpoint, but just from a power standpoint as well, from a character standpoint. The characterization of all the characters is so hilariously inconsistent. Their power levels are hilariously inconsistent. Yes, there's no numbers, but you know, there should be. It's like this is one of those problems, right? Like we've measured how fast a person can. We've measured the average peak speed of a person. We've measured how high they can jump. We've measured the age that the person can jump the highest. We have like exacting numbers on all of this shit, right? It's because we exist with it, right? In a world like Remnant, where you have aura, and everyone can technically have aura, and you have huntsmen who go out and fight Grim, knowing how much aura have, how much an average Grim strike would take off of your aura, how much efficiency you can squeeze out of it, techniques to do so. Can you expand aura? Yes or no? And if no, you would need to make weaponry based off of that, right? Like, if you have 1,000 aura and the average Grim attack will take 50 off of it, then you can get in close personal as much as you want. You can fucking punch away, right? But if you have 100 aura and the average Grim strike takes off 50, well, you now need to come up with a fighting style that does not, in fact, involve you ever being hit by a Grim. You need to now rely heavily on dust, or heavily on ranged weaponry, or on your semblance, or explosives or something, right? Like you need to come up with a different strategy, because you literally can't go and man fight Grim, because if you take 2 hits, you die, because as we've all seen, Grim claws from an average Beowulf, the weakest Grim, can cut through steel. Flesh is a lot less sturdy than steel. Might come as a shock to some.
Did you know? You're very stabbable.
Yes. So, numberizing aura, it's a very rough position to be put in. we don't really see a lot of numberizing occur in a lot of fiction, because how high or fast an average non-magical human can jump or run rarely ever is important to the story, because usually in fiction they have cyberware now, which means your average person's just going to be slower, so it doesn't matter what the peak speed of an average person is. The person with cyberware is just going to be faster, because fuck you, it's fiction. Or they have magic, and they can, like, cast haste, or fly, or turn invisible, or you know, a whole bunch of other things, right? So there's always going to be in fiction a scenario in where it doesn't matter. Like, for example, say there is no magic and there is no cyberware, and now a situation where human running speed might actually be important. You know what I see in a lot of stories like that? The skill of the person being now important, and the number of their average running speed no longer being important. Oh, it doesn't matter how fast they ran. They used their intelligence to figure out a way to parkour up that building, so now they can, like, avoid or chase down someone. And so it didn't matter how fast they could run anymore. Now their skill was taking the spotlight. And so it's very rare in any story of fiction will I ever see the importance of how fast a non-magical person can run is. However, on the flip side, magic in a lot of stories comes with a tier system. In a lot of stories, cyberware has a tier system. Like, oh yeah, this is Mark 1 legs. They're going to be slower than the Mark 2 legs, and they're going to be slower than the Mark 3 legs. You know, so there may not be numbers, but there's not numbers because there is a number. And it's using the power of assumption to grant the reader the idea that bigger number is better. So you don't need to tell someone the max speed of a Mark 1 leg when you tell them that the Mark 2 leg exists and they're faster, and the person just goes, oh, okay, so the higher the number for the mark of the leg, the faster the person gets. Okay. And so then you never need... Yeah.
I would say, when you jump into Halo, you're jumped immediately into the Mark IV Mjolnir armor. We know
Right.
at that point in time, you know literally nothing about any other variant of Mjolnir armor. But this is the Mark IV, so
Right.
it must be impressive. Because it
Right.
turns out humans are pretty fucking stupid. If you just put numbers in front of things, it generally sounds better. This is the Skullfucker. This is the Skullfucker Mark 43.
Right. I mean, there's the ongoing joke of this is the Planet Destroyer 3000.
Yeah.
So yeah, generally people will just assume higher number better, and you don't need to go into the numbers, the nitty gritty numbers, I should say. A tier 3 firebolt, a cantrip firebolt is going to be weaker in anyone's mind than a tier 3 fireball. Not only because of the different names, but oh, that's a tier 3 fire spell. That means it's got to be, like, way bigger, right? Like, what would you cast? You know, would you cast the tier 8 fire flame annihilation, or would you cast the tier 1 fireball? Well, flame annihilation A sounds cooler. Also, it has tier 8 next to it, which means it's got to be, like, crazy, right? Is how the average person thinks. So you don't need to put numbers in front. And then when you do need to put numbers in front of things, you can ignore the numbers by saying this person's really skilled. They use their skills, they use their knowledge in parkour, they used their observational abilities to notice something or whatever, right? So that sidesteps, again, the nitty-gritty numbers. In a world like Ruby, aura would be intensely studied. And you might be like, I've seen some people like, oh, well, it's like the soul and stuff, so it's like super personal. Are you
No,
telling
that's
me?
bullshit, because in the fucking school, we saw that they had fucking meters to measure that shit
Right,
in
exactly.
class. Maybe it wasn't an exact value, but it was enough for the fucking teacher to go, wow, John, you got your ass kicked again, and Cardin did it in like 2 fucking swings.
Yeah. And like, are you really telling me that this person that is going to spend the next however many years of their life risking it every single time they step outside the city to fight immortal death monsters of an unending tide, they don't want to know how many times they can be hit by a Grim before they die?
No.
They don't want to know if them training their aura every day made an impact on how much they have access to? Like, are you really saying that these people who rely on a critical internal resource never at any point tried to make any sort of, even if it's an individual system, they never tried to be like, okay, so I tried doing this today with my aura and I feel really drained. Do I have more aura today, or am I better at using it now? They never did any of that. No one ever tried to like exercise their aura at all. Period. Ever. Really?
Eat the right food.
Does eating dust increase my aura? Does it change my aura? Like, you're telling me that when we live in a world where scientists are being paid to tell us if water's fucking wet, no one ever, at any point, any time ever, tried to measure aura capacity or usage. Ever. Bullshit.
They've got some way to do it. Polandina and his entire thing with Penny. The scrolls are able to show you a health bar for some reason.
Yeah,
They just don't ever give us numbers.
yeah, then
I
that's what
think
I'm
that
saying.
well, that's probably more the thing of like, writers should avoid numbers. What they weren't told is no, numbers are good for visual mediums. It's novelists that need to avoid numbers where they can.
Well, it's not just that, right? Like, when you are trying to write a story, no matter what it is, whether it's a movie or a TV show or a video game. I mean, video game really should have numbers, or a book. Um, the numbers should exist. Like, let's be clear here. The numbers do need to exist,
Well,
but they
yes,
should
but
exist in your notes, not being
the
told to the reader. They should
the
exist in your
numbers
notes.
should be vague in what the reader has.
Yes.
Your notes probably should have, like, I know that my story takes place over the course of 2 days, and I want the reader to be able to figure that out through the way I'm writing.
Right. And well, yeah, I mean, yes, but also it's like, okay, I need to. So Ruby has 100 aura. Each Grim Strike takes 25 from a Beowulf, 50 from an Ursa, 75 from a Berengal. You want to be consistent. 2 hits from a Berengal would break your aura. 2 hits from an Ursa would break your aura, and 4 hits from a Beowulf would break your aura. And you don't want to have a scenario where you have Ruby dart around and get hit twice by a Beowulf and her aura breaks, and then, earlier you had her be hit 8 times by a Beowulf before her aura broke.
And the tornado siren.
Nice.
I shall depart, gentlemen, for the base.
Godspeed.
Well, good speed.
To be clear, I want to be clear. I don't give a shit that the tornado siren's going off, but my phone told me that there's a tornado and the Weather Channel just said there's a tornado, and Google was like, "Hey, there's a tornado." So you know what?
Okay, get going.
I'll take that
Get
chance.
going.
Yeah. See, man. So there should definitely be numbers of some fashion somewhere recorded in your notes about limits. Of course, unless you're, say, writing a story like Undying Scarab, where you don't really need numbers in our notes because the number is yes.
But Sneaky, there's no number.
You see, we lose 3 letters. The algebra.
Yeah.
Y
Well,
times E times
well, I
S.
mean, what you did was you took the Toriyama Dragon Ball Z approach, which is like, stop obsessing over the numbers. It doesn't matter. I'm showing you the problems, and I'm showing you the solutions. Stop asking
Right.
me to tell you the numbers.
Right, but it's also specifically because Taylor is on such a power level degree that numbers don't really matter anymore. It's not so much what matters in terms of numbers anymore, because her amount of mana that she has access to is absurd. The amount of spells she can cast is absurd, and the amount of damage she can do is absurd, and it becomes more of a game of skill and intelligence in how to solve a situation that is novel. Pretty much every situation that we've put Taylor into at this point throughout the story, the first arc was something she could fight, but pretty much every arc after that wasn't about her fighting it. She fought them, but it wasn't a scenario where her fighting them equals her winning. She had a different objective on top of needing to fight them to actually win. Whether that was survive versus Malagos, or it was win in such a way that discouraged further attempts to spare more lives in when she was fighting the Horde and the Lions.
And then there's Sigvaldir.
Yeah, where again it's less of a
Survival.
Yeah, it's less of a do damage win and more of a survival. And so we don't really need hard numbers for these things because Magic and WoW is a lot more
Tangible.
wish-washy and visual, I guess is the best way to put it. Like an ice bolt is an ice bolt, and it's just literally it's just an icicle being shot at you. And it does as much damage as an icicle being shot at you would do.
Depending upon how much magic you put into it, the effects can change to, I'm hitting you with a frost bolt, you're getting hit with an iceberg, or you're just getting fully encased in ice.
Right.
It depends on the intent, rather, and the magic power.
Yeah, so it's a lot more visual. We're able to do a lot more narrative storytelling with the spells. We had one character do this really impressive, like, fire summoning ritual where he summons this giant fire elemental and he, like, passes out afterward. And we didn't need numbers for this. It was just okay, so what's the most impressive thing he can do? Yeah, what's the most impressive thing he can do? So he does that and then passes out because he used all of his mana. We don't need.
Oh, it was even worse than that.
Oh yeah, he got the backlash and stuff, but the point
his
is
armor was melting.
Right, yeah, but the point is more that we didn't need numbers for that because it was more about narratively describing what's occurring to the audience than it was raw action. because the spells are more of a spectacle than they are part of a combo, I guess is the best way to.
It's not like in the game where you're doing a rotation to maximize your DPS or do whatever the correct thing is for your build. It is, this is what they learned, and this is what they default to and use in given situations.
Yeah, so there are situations, obviously, where the numbers don't come into play. I mean, Familiar Zero is another one of those stories where, like Ray is writing, called Zero Sum Game,
Sure.
where the number really isn't important. Even though Luis isn't at that power level where the number isn't important, a lot more is going on in the fights than needing the number to be there or it to be consistent. But when you have a literal shield of temp HP around you, it is very important to keep track of that because that introduces, like I said, it's basically temp HP in where you are not taking damage. Like you get hit really hard and like, oh yeah, like my arm hurts, but it's not broken. In a normal story, it'd be like, oh yeah, my arm's broken now. You don't need to keep track of like their fucking health. Their arm's broken. Everyone can see their arm is broken because they took a big hit. Big hit equals arm break. But when you have temp HP shield that prevents that sort of narrative damage from occurring, you do need to keep track of it because now you need to keep how many hits your shield can take consistent or scaling in the case of you getting better at it. You know, if your shield breaks after 1 hit and then in the future your shield breaks after 3 hits, the audience can look at that and say, oh, they're getting better. But if you have their shield break after 3 hits at the start and then their shield breaks after 1 hit later on, the audience goes, what the fuck's happening?
I think they could keep numbers out of Ruby still, but there was something that they never established, at least as far as I remember. It wasn't in any of the World of Remnant things. It wasn't in the main story.
Right.
We just needed someone to explain whatever your ore is when it unlocks, that's what you're stuck with for quantity. I think you could keep numbers out if you just had that, but they don't tell us anything there like that.
That wouldn't be very satisfying if that was how it was. Because I feel like that means like, oh, your soul never gets like saying your aura never changes means your soul never changes, and if saying your soul
No.
never changes means you can
Well,
never
I
develop
would-
as a character.
I would also disconnect aura from soul.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like
that's
as a
fine, yeah.
concept, that's interesting. Conversely, Soul Eater did that, and it did it so much better.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%, yeah.
It's I'm pretty sure that's where Monty got his inspiration
Oh,
for aura being
very
connected to soul.
likely.
It's Soul Eater.
Mhm.
Yeah, like disconnect it from that and tell us just a simple like, oh yeah, you can do these exercises and it will help increase your quantity, or
You know
no, that's
what,
what you're stuck
Max?
with, kid. So
Now
we're just
that
gonna
you've brought
train
up
you
Soul
how to
Eater,
use it effectively.
now that you've brought up Soul Eater, that does actually make me angrier at Ruby once again. In that they had the opportunity with this whole semblance is like a superpower based on your personality of your soul thing. They had the
Yeah,
opportunity to make soul weapons.
Yep.
Oh, you part of your rights as a hunter is to finally manifest your aura weapon that is like a part of your expression of personality and your soul. And it's like, oh, Yang manifests these firecracker shotgun gauntlets. Where does she get the ammo for them? From her soul. Ruby uses this weird-ass fucking scythe. Why does she use the weird-ass fucking scythe? Because she's a psychopath and kills people. Didn't see that one coming, did you?
After volume 7, I mean, really, we were just waiting for that.
But point
I mean,
being
yeah,
though is
Soul Eater did a great, because Soul Eater's like, oh yeah, well, Soul Eater physically manifests the souls, and they're all unique shapes.
yeah, not only that, right? Like, if you want to make it rule of cool, you want to have these sci-fi switch weapons, combine Magical Girl and Soul Eater. The fucking weapon changes because you soul shit, and you can manifest it into a different form, and it transforms into a different part of the weapon. And like you can see the pieces that the weapon, you know, like goes from a rifle into a scythe, and you can like see the pieces like click around. And oh, why does it work? Fuck you! It's a soul weapon.
Yeah, I mean
That's
what
why
Soul
it
Eater
worked.
did. Yeah.
And well, Soul Eater just did the normal they turn into a weapon. Period. That's it. Done.
Oh, well, no, I know, but like Soul Eater, just like, you know, why do the people do this? Oh, they're just born with that ability. Okay, well, how does a Meister pick a weapon? Oh, well, they've got to be compatible. Do we know why?
Right.
No. Stop asking
Right.
questions.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I see what you mean. But yeah, but I'm saying, like, take that and combine it with, like, the Power Rangers magical girl shit, right? Like, oh, they activate their soul weapon, Form 2, and now it's a different weapon. And you can have these cool transformation scenes, and, you know, like, it would just be cool. And then you could excuse why all the weapons are fucking retarded. Oh, why is it a trumpet? It's because, you know, jazz is my soul, and that's why I have a fucking saxophone. Alright. Fine. I mean, you can't choose your soul weapon, that's just how it is. You know? So it's just like, it gives an excuse as to why the weapons are completely ridiculous, and you can just make it fucking anything at that point now. Oh, why does it transform from a handbag of fashion into a minigun? Well, fuck you, that's why.
Why is it a trumpet?
Yeah, right? It's just like, you can come, it gives you a wider range of excuses. You can do more bullshit with it now. Like, now you don't even have to make it remotely work as a switch weapon, because it's a soul weapon, and it does the magical transformation power bullshit go. Oh, it doesn't even make any sense for those parts to be there. Fuck you, it's a soul weapon. Yes, it does.
Orc logic, let's fucking go.
And so it's just so much better, and now you don't have to come up with bullshit about how it's maintained. Now you don't have to come up with bullshit about how everyone can possibly use a non-standard fucking cartridge. I don't think a single person in Ruby so far has used the same goddamn caliber.
Probably
I don't
not.
know how ammo shops in Remnant stay in business. They have to stock like 3 rounds from every fucking caliber size in existence.
That's how they stay in business. It's specialized work. They're probably getting massive government subsidies too.
Oh, they certainly probably would be, but my point is more in that it's just not a maintainable business in terms of trying to sell ammo as a standardized thing that people can just walk in and buy. You would have to, like, find your ammo supplier, see if they have a slot open, and then you just buy ammo from only them forevermore effectively because they have the casting die for your exclusive special caliber that you insist upon using because you couldn't be a normal person and use 5.56. No, you had to be special and use your 5.8 4mm round that has a rifle tip but a short stock. Because fuck you.
As a person who's never actually held a gun, and this is amusing to me.
Soul weapons would be easy since Penny exists, and instead of putting a piece of your soul in a robot, put it into a weapon. Only now you can make it use it since you have your soul and you can awaken the weapon's aura to make it better, and now you have a semblance, so a team of 4 can have the power of 8 huntsmen. Yeah, like, it's literally, it's just like, so, like, well, why does Penny's swords float? They're a soul weapon, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and the Penny's stuff would have had to have come through a lot sooner than that is part of the problem. I'm pretty sure they tried to imply that futzing around with this. That's 3 bots in 1 string. What the fuck?
Jesus Christ.
well, like I say, we're getting popular.
I'm pretty sure they were trying to imply futzing around with soul is not something that is looked upon kindly because they kept Penny a secret and they kept the soul the ore switching machine a secret.
Yeah.
Now, this is stupid because it's like we found another way to weaponize the soul, which would be super important against the fight against the Grim.
No, I mean, I see, I can understand it, you know, I can understand it, right? I get where they're coming from with that angle. I get it. I don't mind it. But, it's just like, even if it's not manifesting the weapon, if it's like building the weapon and then you like sit there and pour your soul into it Bleach style and turn it into your soul weapon, and then you can like summon it from your soul from then on or some bullshit, or it's like connected to your soul and then it like grows on its own as well or some shit. Like that all still works, right? So like there's a lot of ways you can roll it that would excuse a lot of the stupid shit that happens when it comes to the Ruby weapons. And they did none of it. They did none of it. You could just be a stupid government doing stupid government things because author stupidity. Yes, so I think the problem with Ruby is that you actually can't have a stupid government. So, unhappy people in Ruby cause Grim Hordes. Grim Hordes cause genocides. So, you can't really have the cycle of incompetent government causes collapse, and then the people pick up the remains and rebuild. Because it wouldn't be just an issue of, oh, society collapses, and then, you know, we have to rebuild from the collapsed society stage, and, you know, we go through the whole cycle again. Because it'd be like if society, it would be like if the Roman Empire collapsed, and then a flood of Tyranids broke out across Europe. There wouldn't really be a Holy Roman Empire sequel then. Because everyone would be dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you really can't have incompetent governments in the remaining cities. Like, you can have an incompetent government in, like, the far-off village. Like, oh, we founded this village 6 months ago, and we're rough, and we're tough, and we're not gonna ask the huntsman for help because fuck the big city people. We don't pay taxes here. Yeah, we're gonna do everything ourselves because we're robust, and we don't need this scam that is the huntsman. And then they'll die.
And then they
you can have that, that's
disappear.
fine. Yeah, you can have that, that's fine. But you can't have, like, the Vale government be stupid. Because if they are, then everyone dies. And there's no part 2 to that. There's no Iron Age rebuilding. Everyone's just dead. Now, if you want to have that be a plot point in the story, you can absolutely say, oh, the government for the thousands of years Vale has been running has been good, but finally we've reached a point in technology where the defenses have been so good that it's created this illusion of peace in Vale, that people have started to forget the ravages of the Grim that they live in Vale, and the people in power feel super safe, and it's created this culture of false security. And now the rot has set in with this culture of false security. And if you make that a part of your story, like that's a main plot point in your story, that totally works. But again, you have to make that a focus of your story. Because if you just kind of throw that in there and your story is about something completely different, it's just bad. It's just lame. Just cringe. I mean, it's not gonna break your story, but it's just stupid. You know, it's just really stupid. It's like when you're a fucking child, and you're like, I shoot you with my eye lasers, and instead of the person you said I shoot you with my eye lasers to being like, oh well, I dodge, they go, oh well, I activate my anti-eye laser shield. And you're like, wow, that is the lamest thing I have ever heard. Fair, because I said I had eye lasers. You can say you have an anti-eye laser shield. But it's still fairly lame. Like, you're not even countering, you're not dodging, you're not doing anything besides just conjuring up a power that's an exact counter to mine. In a way that nullifies them both, instead of a way that turns it on me or something. It's just really basic bitch lame. What I'm trying to say. Can you have stupid people in Bleach? Absolutely. Bleach is all about everyone being incompetent. Like, Bleach, the Sekiryuti, or whatever the fuck they're called, that whole civilization in the afterlife is built around the idea that the powerful people, not the smart ones, created civilization. Because, unlike in reality, where you need to be smart to, you know, make sure you have enough food to last over the winter, right? Because it doesn't matter how strong you are. If you don't have food to last you through winter, you die. But in the Sekiryuti spirit world, you don't die. If you reach a certain level of power, you just don't need to eat anymore. You don't need to drink anymore. You don't need to sleep anymore, question mark? So it's like, how to put this? It's a scenario in where you having the biggest muscles and the hardest sword swing means you get to make the rules, because there's no consequences for you making a stupid rule. Because if you have the power to cover up for the fact that the stupid rule caused a problem, then the stupid rule can keep existing and not be changed, because you're strong enough to ignore the consequences of it. If that makes sense. It's like Raven's cyberpunk dystopia story that has people that became empowered super soldiers who can literally buy anything from an alien supermarket and above the law just by acting altruistic. The premise falls apart if you think about it. Yeah. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, right? Ruby was wildly popular. Raven's story, from what I've heard, is doing incredibly well, and good for him. And like I said back in the day, before they pissed me off, good for Rooster Teeth. However, when you run a story like that, you are effectively lighting a candle. You only have so much wick, and you will run out of wick eventually. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can get a second candle, but that starts to complicate things. You're not really doing the original story anymore. You're kind of taking everyone and being like, hey guys, here's the light from a second candle. Yeah, it's not like the original, and yeah, we had changed a couple things, but you're still running on down that wick. It's how Forgotten Realms has been able to run for so long. They have like 100-something stories now for the Forgotten Realms series. And the reason why they're able to do this is because everything is very thoroughly mapped out. The power levels are mapped out. The escalation is mapped out. The countries are all mapped out. How those countries act are mapped out. How the gods act are mapped out. Everyone's reactions, the cities, how the cities work is mapped out. Everything is mapped out. So they just get to keep telling stories. They can just keep going. They can have the characters roam across the world because everything's already mapped out. They're not flying by the seat of their pants, inventing things as they come. Everything's already there. And they're just navigating their character world map. And so they can just keep churning out stories for this because everything already had the foundation. But when you write like Raven Dagger's story, when you write like a Ruby story, you only have so much. You have a limited quantity of product you can create. Otherwise, you start contradicting yourself and you start losing the plot because you decide to fly by the seat of your pants and not have anything mapped out. Wushu novel logic might make right. Yeah, pretty much. Cultivation stories are the big bad immortal acts like a bored petty teenager. Yeah. Yeah. And those sorts of stories even have their own internal consistency to it because there's always a bigger fish that is justifying how everything can still be the way it is despite everyone in power being stupid. Because it's like, oh, yeah, all these people can be stupid as fuck and make really stupid choices and do stupid things because someone even bigger than them is effectively shielding them from the consequences of their stupid actions. Like, it doesn't matter if they fuck around and get 100,000 people killed in this pointless battle over a tea leaf. Because they don't actually need to guard the border. Because they have someone who's even stronger than them who's actually guarding the border and can, like, teleport there in a second and kill every monster on the wall. Whenever they want, 24/7. So they don't actually need those soldiers to guard the border. So they can go be stupid with them. So, yeah, effectively was what I was saying. Yeah. But, yeah, so I mean, we didn't really cover any fan fiction today. But, we covered a lot of writing stuff today. So I'll call that an overall victory, right? We covered a lot of writing today. A lot of narrative stuff, character design, how to make a story flow. I mean, so we might have not covered the fan fiction, But we definitely covered fiction. Covered a lot of fiction. Broke down a lot of things and shit like that in fiction. So I'll consider that a win. Unless you guys want to hear me read some really shit fanfiction.
No, honestly, no. Listen, I didn't die yet, so I don't have any intention to hear garbage fan fiction now.
That is some sick ass lightning. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you on Friday. Because there is always more